Have you heard? Donald Trump has a Halloween costume this year. He dressed up as a McDonald's employee. Check it out.
Never touches the human hand.
Very good. Very
nice
good.
And full.
Thank you.
It's full of fantasy too, by the way.
Good. Okay, do another one? Yeah. I'll grab it. Okay. Never touched by a human hand. Nice and clean. Of course, my hands are nice and clean.
Just in case they do touch the fries.
This guy's a good instructor. I'm going to give a really big one so that, look at that, they're just pouring out of it. How good is that, Margot? Here, Margot, have them.
So, Donald Trump definitely dressed up this year, was playing a little pretend rather than being your boss's boss who fires people and abuses them and gets into political office so that he can strip away their rights. He's cosplaying as a McDonald's employee, you know? Just an everyday guy. And I gotta hand it to him. From like a Halloween or corporate boss man posing as McDonald's employee but isn't really one, just a cheap Halloween costume to play a role or something I pulled out of my closet to put together to vaguely look like the thing. He did great. He did absolutely great. Like this one here, very iconic posing, right? Outside the window where you're gonna get your food. Yeah, iconic shot. Does have the Halloween look to it, just in that if you had attention to detail or you actually did a hard day's worth of work rather than just went for a photo op, you would expect that you would get some smudging on your shirt. You wouldn't come out with the crisp, clean shirt, more of the boss than of the McDonald's employee. I love the lighting here. Does give the like spooky corporate overlord look. Very, very good Halloween-y vibes. Very unsettling. I think this went well for him from a Halloween perspective. What I did not expect is this take by Uyghur. Some in the press called Trump's McDonald photo op bizarre. I mean, I don't find it bizarre. I do think it's like peak Halloween content. This is how you lose credibility. That was a home run photo op. Okay, all right. He looked like a real person there, connecting with the average American. If you can't see that, you're totally blind. Yes, he weirdly insists that Kamala Harris didn't work at McDonald's when she was younger. That's been confirmed by her friends at the time. Besides, no one thinks to make up outrageous lies like that other than Trump. But that's not what people are going to take away from this. You're right. That is not what I took away from it at all. I'm used to Donald Trump lying. With that being said, what I did notice was this.
Minimum wage should be raised.
Well, I think these people work hard. They're great. And I just saw something, a process that's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to see. These are great franchises and produce a lot of jobs, and it's great. And great people working here, too.
But minimum wage is
Recently increased.
So, yes, ma'am.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. But his perspective was not the only one that caught my attention. I've always got to check into Vance as a fellow Midwesterner who was very amused with the arc of Mike Pence's style of firing and another Midwestern stepping up to the bat. I had to peek in. What's he saying on it?
And the fact that these people are accusing him of a stage-managed thing, of course the president has to have security because there have been 2 attempts on his life in the last 8 weeks. He can't just walk into a McDonald's and sign a W-9 and actually go on the payroll. That's just not how this works, especially given the security threats on his life. But look, he was interacting with people. He was talking to the employees. He was giving people food. And he was just being, I think, what he does best, which is just being among the people, talking to them about what they care about. He showed, I think, genuine interest in the employees and their lives and where they came from and what they were actually doing in their job. And that's something you can't stage and you can't fake. That is just the genuine person that Donald.
I think Vance would know this point very, very deeply.
The Zoom has come to town. Thank you for letting us come in here.
Yes, sir.
I'll give you Vance. I'm running for vice president. Let's see it.
Okay.
How long are you working?
I've been here since the beginning of July.
Okay.
For this year.
Okay, good. How about you, sir?
Almost 2 years.
Okay, good. Just everything. Yeah, there'll be a lot of glazed here, some sprinkle stuff, some cinnamon rolls, just whatever makes sense. How long has this place been around?
About 4 years.
About 4 years? Okay. How long have you been here?
A little over 6 months.
Okay, good. Trump is, and it's why I think a lot of working people, even though of course he's a successful real estate billionaire, have this emotional connection to Donald Trump. You can't make up that kind of connection. Unfortunately, Kamala Harris has tried and failed, and I think it's why her campaign is flailing a little bit right now, is because she goes into Sheets and does 4 takes of her buying Doritos. Donald Trump just goes into McDonald's and he is who he is, and people love him.
And people love him. I love that his claim here is that Donald Trump emotionally connects with the workers. I think that's even fair, right? I think that perspective is fair. However, he's just pointing out the reality that we don't have any politicians that really feel like they connect and back up the policy to support that emotional connection. Donald Trump has sat down with disability activists and then been reported to by someone he's related to have pulled him aside and said, we cannot be spending the money on this. And allegedly, according to this family member of his, said that he needs to just leave his disabled son back in a different state while moving to Florida, and then forgetting about him because he doesn't even know who he is. He said these people are too expensive. So yes, Donald Trump can absolutely put on a show. He can connect with people, maybe even. I don't know. I wasn't there. The photo shoot looks silly to me because I know he's trash on workers' rights. So I see some context around it. I'm not looking at this like, oh, no context, he connects well with people. I'm looking at this understanding maybe he can. Maybe he can give you an inkling, a sense that he cares about you. But that doesn't mean he has the policy to back it up. It doesn't mean he's not backstabbing you in his policy. Drill, baby, drill, and bacon, bacon, bacon seem to be the huge things on Donald Trump's mind when he thinks about the working class. I found it very frustrating to hear a gentleman who had multiple kids who are probably around my age, definitely adults, that he was saying are relying on him to help them get their basic needs met. Well, he's also trying to get his basic needs met. And so he said, Donald Trump, I don't want to hear about food costs. I don't want to hear about energy costs. I want to know what you're going to do for the rent. And then Donald Trump proceeded to go on to a rant about gas prices and how he was going to drill, baby, drill to lower them. And then he started talking about how he's going to make bacon cheaper, which was incredibly frustrating. I think there may be a reason he's so bacon obsessed. His administration issued an executive order that intimidated local health departments from closing meat processing plants with significant COVID-19 outbreaks. Even during the pandemic, Donald Trump was pushing meat processing plant workers to their limits. In April 2020, President Trump issued an executive order that claimed to require the nation's meat production plants to remain open. The executive order did not actually prevent public health departments from closing plants, nor did it designate the industry as an essential industry, but it has been used by the Trump administration to intimidate local agencies from closing plants, with multiple deaths and huge outbreaks. State and local agencies mistakenly thought that their hands were tied and they could not demand that the meat industry implement the most basic CDC guidelines of providing masks and social distancing. The result is over 40,000 meat and poultry workers sick and hundreds dead. But that's not the only thing, right? He's not just going after and not just being horrible in terms of the health of poultry workers. He also doesn't care about your healthcare either, workers in general. He has engaged in persistent efforts to take away workers' healthcare. The Trump administration sided with congressional Republican allies in attempts to repeal the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. In 2017, asked the Supreme Court to rule the ACA unconstitutional in its entirety on a wafer-thin legal justification and weakened the ACA greatly as a part of the 2017 tax cut for corporations. Finally, even in the face of millions of workers losing their employer-sponsored insurance due to COVID-19 economic shock, the Trump administration not only persisted in its efforts to repeal the ACA, but also did nothing to make it easier for workers who'd lost ESI to slide into coverage under the ACA marketplace exchanges, even though an administrative fix was easily available at the time. We've heard him talk about the ACA in the debate, where he said he had concepts of a plan to replace it. And of course, no, he wouldn't get rid of it because the ACA is actually pretty popular. Healthcare is so bad in this country that at least having the ACA is important and people recognize that. But he's been trying to gut it. So I don't know why he acts like I can't have more than concepts of a plan because I'm not the president right now. You were, and you were already trying to repeal it. Donald Trump also allowed poultry plants to increase line speeds during the coronavirus pandemic. I would say this isn't just concerning during the pandemic, but in general, because if you are on the factory floor and you are working in a line, you're going to be doing a motion over and over and over again. And you can get what's called repetitive strain or repetitive stress injuries. This is a health concern for factory workers. If you think about it, when you speed up the line, you're going to be doing those actions faster over and over again, more over and over again, and have higher rates of repetitive stress or strain injuries. In a slaughterhouse, this is even more extreme because you are chopping or slaughtering or whatever action you need to do to kill that animal. Slaughterhouses have really high rates of injury, but let's look into what he specifically did. So his administration allowed poultry plants to increase line speeds during the coronavirus pandemic. In April 2020, the Trump Department of Agriculture allowed 15 large poultry plants to increase their line speeds in the middle of the pandemic, despite many of the plants being sites of COVID-19 outbreaks. Poultry workers already face high risk of work-related COVID-19 infections and serious injuries. This decision only exacerbated that risk. Also, they issued a rule allowing hog slaughter facilities to function at unsafe speeds. In April 2019, the Trump Department of Agriculture's Food Safety and Inspection Service finalized a rule that would allow an unlimited increase in hog slaughter line speeds, putting public health, worker safety, and animal welfare at risk. The industry was already extremely dangerous for workers. It is estimated that every year there are more than 4,700 occupational injuries and more than 2,700 occupation illnesses in hog slaughtering plants. An unlimited increase in line speeds will unquestionably raise those numbers, but the administration completely ignored any negative impact on worker safety and health when issuing this rule. Donald Trump can absolutely cosplay as a McDonald's worker, but it does not mean that him and his administration have been good to workers in any sense of the word. And I could pull this last one up. It denied workers a minimum wage increase, but we can just watch him talk about this himself.
Minimum wage should be raised.
Well, I think these people who work hard, they're great. And I just saw something, a process that's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to see. These are great franchises and produce.
This is what happens when you can emotionally connect, as Vance says, with people, but you don't have policy to back it up. He cares, he acts like he cares, and he lies well to present himself as part of the working class, but he doesn't care and you can see it in his policy. Ultimately, I have to give Trump a 10 out of 10 for his Halloween costume. Completely fake, as one would expect from a politician cosplaying as a current McDonald's worker. And deeply, deeply unsettling.